Hello, everybody, and welcome to the ECL Sunday Conquest. Today we have just 5 players, which means that we will be having a round robin between them all to determine the best.
You can already see some very interesting decks as well. We can see Oni shenanigans. We can see Armory being brought back. This is gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've seen Armory. It looks like our players for round 1, Isagron and Kalos, are up and ready already, so let's dive in.
Let's go. Isaac hand already looks very beefy. We can see Initiate of the Sand for ramp. We can see Martial Ironthorn for the exact same reason.
And
we have
the
already
Seek Power,
synergies.
with the help of the Seek Power, it means that this hand is essentially a 3-power hand, assuming that Kalos isn't on a deck with turn 1 torches and might be interested in torching that Initiate, which is something Isokron has to be weary of.
Absolutely. It looks like they decided to mulligan instead, which is fair, I think. We see a teacher in turn 2 available for play, as well as some nice follow-up with the additional ramp from the sigils granted. Also, World Bearer and the Mystic Ascendant forming some nice synergy already. Let's hope that Kalos has some good answers for that already. Otherwise, this could snowball quite heavily into favor of Isokron.
The turn 2 teacher is really the brutal thing, but Kalos has the torch in hand to deal with it.
Indeed.
And as we got into this really quickly, we didn't get a moment to introduce ourselves. I'm Cygnus Infinity, and my friend here, Eclipser, is casting today again after a successful trial on the Casual Friday.
Yes, that was some really good fun there. We had amazing decks, we had amazing players. It was just a fun event, and I hope we can get something like this yet again today.
As you can see, Kalos went ahead and fired off the torch on the teacher because that's what you do, then played out Wyatt. Wyatt, however, is going to have a tough time attacking into a 6-7.
Even though we see the Annihilate in Kalos' hand, so that could potentially be a play here.
Yeah, it prevents the 6-7 from really being a problem and does probably allow her to hit in with Wyatt, and I imagine that's a big part of what you want to do if you're running a Wyatt deck.
Absolutely, yeah. We also see Kalos having quite some nice backup after Wyatt and an additional power drawn, but let's see if we get that power first.
So Wyatt is, of course, the most recent promo card released by Direwolf. It was actually released after the fall of Argenport, if I'm getting my timeline of events correct.
Yep.
He's a 2/2 Gunslinger Rogue with Quick Draw for 2, costing both factions in Stonescar. And when he hits the enemy player, discard a card to draw the top card of their deck. After every 3 hits, create and draw a Smuggler's Stash.
Kind of interesting to see that we got a power draw here from Isokron's deck, and I think that might actually be better than most other cards potentially, just to get that ramp going and that additional mana and get your minions going right now.
In a vacuum,
because staying on free.
In a vacuum, I would agree, but since she then subsequently top decked her own power, it doesn't feel nearly as great. But she's going to get another opportunity to right here off this attack.
I appreciate though that Kalos is trying to hide which card she just drew, so that's a pretty good play here.
Yeah, she doesn't need that influence.
Yeah.
She doesn't need that influence for anything because in Eternal, when you steal a card from your opponent, no matter how it's done or if your unit gets transformed into something, it loses its influence requirements.
That Sandstorm Titan pickup could potentially be very, very nice here. We have the aggressive stat line of 5 and 6 for 4 mana, which is exactly what Kalos could cast right now.
But one thing I wasn't entirely sure about on Kalos' side of the board was not playing out uh, hideout pistol, holdout pistol to kill Initiate of the Sands last turn, because
Mhm.
then this turn, combination of that ornate katana and the second hideout pistol would be able to kill Mystic Ascendant, blocking Isochron off the power draw, and even actually that Mystic Ascendant would still
It
have
would
been
just
able to be
die.
played last turn. Yeah,
Yeah. Ooh,
but it
that could
wouldn't have been
potentially
able to
hurt.
be buffed up. So maybe Isochron wouldn't have even played the Ascendant last turn. Now Wyatt, while still a 6-2, is silenced, along with both those ornate katanas.
Which is fine though. The hideout pistol could do some work here. If we see that. Yep, we see it come down here. Gets rid of the flyer. Trying to
Second
push some
hideout
damage
pistol
through.
kills the
Yeah,
Mystic
nice.
Ascendant, allows Kalos to push through 10 damage, but even 10 damage is only putting Isochron to 13. That's still a couple attacks away, and Isochron does have the Harsh Roll in hand to deal with it.
Yeah, and we will see the trigger being pulled exactly here. I think that was a nice sequencing from Kalos, though. I really liked it. Trying to conceal the fact that she could potentially get rid of this with Hideout Pistol. Just keeping information in her hand up until the point she pulled the trigger. And now she has very solid minions to just play constantly. Gonna take some while to get everything on board, but we see Isochron not having many answers right now. Especially that free flyer with silence could be handy, but wouldn't do too much here most of the time. Champion of Chaos also coming down right now. That's a good idea, just having the deadly unit on the board. And we see Seraph being picked up by Isochron, which could potentially wreak havoc starting next turn and producing more and more minions.
Yeah, Seraph is active already. She'll be able to start tossing out random time or justice units. And I imagine Isochron would prefer to do that over playing the Scorpion Wasp. Ooh,
Ooh,
Stella!
nice.
There's not actually any weapons in Isochron's deck as far as I know, so she's just a 4/4 Aegis here.
But that might be good enough to stabilize and get something back in Isochron's favor right now, especially since there are some quite ridiculous units they could get from the Seraph activation every single turn now, which is a heavy power sink, but if you get lucky, this could just decide the game on the spot here.
Now, in Kalos' market for this deck, there's Boar, Treachery, Bandit Queen, Vicious Highwayman, and Flamestoker, meaning that none of those are going to be allowing Kalos to kill off Seraph. Now, if you're Isochron here, you double block always, right? Even though it gets blown out by Annihilate, you kind of just have to make Kalos have it at this point. Her options for having it would be the Annihilates. She's not even running. Well, I guess Torch would have also done it too, but Annihilate and Torch, there's
That's exactly
there's
what
no
I was
rapid
referring
shot.
to just now. We see the 10-8 dinosaur coming down from the Seraph activation. This could be very hard to get through and push through for Kalos, especially with the Annihilate just being used on a potentially weaker target even. But maybe we can see some way around this here. The Seraph will always be exhausted when it provides a new minion. So maybe Kalos should start just pushing and accept the fact that she will lose a minion every single time she pushes, but connect some damage to the face.
One of the scary things is that losing one unit might become losing 2 units, might become
Yeah,
losing 3 units. And right now, the 3 damage the Champion of Chaos would get in for might not be worth it. Though top decking a Bandit Queen off that does make it seem a lot better. An attack with everything now will get
yeah,
in for 8, and she has another Bandit Queen in hand. There is still definitely a world where Kalos pulls this out.
yeah, definitely. Especially if we don't see a very impressive unit right now coming down from the Seraph. That is not an impressive unit, most likely. It is a blocker still, but a 4/4, yeah, I guess. That could do some work here. Also, next turn, Isokron could start using Seraph and still have the Wasp open in hand as well. Depending on which Kalos path takes right now, this could potentially be devastating to her plan right now. Do you think Jack the Lone Gun could do some work here in case we draw another power for Kalos here?
In this particular matchup, I feel like Kelos really wants to have Tribute active
Yeah.
to play Jack, and I don't think that attacking in without like a new Bandit Queen or something is really ever going to be worth it enough. Even though killing Seraph is a strong play.
Mm.
Top deck World Bear Behemoth. It looks like that's not going to be played now, and Isochron just wants to get a random unit, but that random unit was Sparring Partner. That's only going to be a 4/4, where the World Bear Behemoth would have been a 6/7, and either way, Scorpion Wasp can show up afterwards.
We can also see Isokron deciding against the Tudor effect, which is a smart idea right now.
It would
But
look like
that's not.
lethal, but
Oh, yeah,
with the help
it
of
is
Scorpion
not.
Wasp, it's not. And Isochron now has 2 units back as blockers, but at 2 life, he's dead to a top deck of another a torch or a third vicious highwayman. Actually, no. He needs to be getting in now, and he knows it because torch or vicious highwayman plus vicious highwayman out of the market is lethal. This attack, though, should put him in a place where he's going to be able to deal lethal to Kalos before she can finish him off.
Rather unfortunate. The game plan of Kalos was pretty straightforward, but we could see that it wasn't quite enough to push through here. That's not gonna be enough. But a nice effort anyways.
No, Kalos misplayed there. There's a treachery in her market.
Wait, what?
That would have been lethal.
Oh, no way!
She
Oh,
hadn't
you're
used
right.
it yet. No, she hadn't. Oh man, she missed it just like I did. And with that,
Ooh.
her opponent Isochron is going to take game 1.
Treachery is a card that doesn't see quite as much play as you would think at the moment. But you're right, deal 2 damage to the enemy player. That player discards a unit of your choice from their hand. So that dealing 2 damage would have been enough. And also 5 mana would have been enough to play that exact combo with the Extant Merchant. So sadly, it looks like Kalos missed indeed lethal.
And got punished for it.
Aye.
Players are right back into game now, though. Looks like Isochron is bringing out Elysian here. Big Circes and Sandstorm Titans and Equivocates and Twilight Hunts. Turns out giving Circe Killer is really good.
Who knew?
I still prefer the Pig Xenon version of the deck.
Pick Zeden.
Yeah, it's mostly mono time, but is also running Circe's and Circe's Cleavers. Pig Xenon.
That's a really good name. I like that Isokron is already pulling out here right now. But I think against a deck like Kalos' deck, you could have made a point for knowing that you hold Equivocates, just hold back and wait for them to overcommit, maybe with a weapon even, and just then punish them and get rid of the weapon as well.
Well, Isochron is looking to perhaps use the permafrost that he got out of the market as a way to punish a weapon.
I can see that, yeah. Also, we are getting close to Circe already. It's 1 blue influence, 1 primal influence missing right now for the requirements to be met. But other than that, Cerso looks like a sick unit for Isokron right now.
You know what else is sick? Being able to annihilate Sandstorm Titan. That's what
Yeah,
Kalos can do.
that is true. Would you take the trade here, or would you let yourself get hit by White?
I feel like at this point, Isokron would be better served just taking the damage
Yeah.
over chump blocking with his Geneva Merchant.
And we see yet again a power drawn from Isokron's deck, which is helping, not necessarily helping right now, actually. Just delayed it for a moment. We see the permafrost coming down on the only unit on Kalos's field right now. On the other hand, we see Argentport Instigator being picked up, which could be cast right now, as well as the Rakana Outlaw. So that's some quite nice pressure coming down there, but we know for a fact that Circe would come down next turn most likely. So that play is already quite shut down yet again.
That is correct. However, Isokron will need to still top deck the power to be able to play that Circe.
That is true, and we just saw that one being stolen by Kalos. So there would be a world where the top deck could do anything here, or could do nothing.
That is correct. It could be another Circe.
Yeah. I think that would be very good for Kalos's position right now, just to get the additional tempo going. Maybe even considering, getting rid of the initiate, setting Isokron even further back to 4 mana.
But that top
Would
deck of an
do
Elysian Banner is going to be enough to allow Circe to show up right now. And
nice.
and and though Shugo tactic will, I mean, Hideout Pistol is already +2/+0, and then Torch combined. There's a lot of ways for Kalos to kill Circe here.
Yep, it is. There's also another Highwayman in her hand right now. But I think Kalos wants to show that she's not afraid of the Cerso because she has the blaze you just mentioned here.
I agree with going for.
Yeah. I think going for the torch here is most likely the better play, just to keep that punching through ability of the Shugo tactic in your hand. The torch is rather replaceable at this point. Yeah, I like that. And we can see a potential Highwayman coming down this turn as well. Maybe getting rid of the Aegis on the Genef Merchant. But it looks like Kalos decided to set up the 2-2 with Quick Draw instead. Twilight Hunt coming down. Give one of your killer units. If it's a dinosaur, give it +1/+1. A card
Geneva
we haven't
Merchant
seen
is
that much of.
Geneva Merchant is not a dinosaur. I do like
Yep.
Kalos's choice to commit the Rakano Outlaw that turn because
Yep.
Warcry is a very strong ability, especially if you get multiple attacks in, and I also like her choice to save her 2/2.
Absolutely the right play here, knowing that the hand of Isokron is top decking right now, or in top deck mode. But because of the Nightfall of his own card, he gets 2 cards. An Equivocate could do work here, but it wouldn't prevent the whole damage coming in.
Yeah, as good as picking up 2 cards in a turn is, if those cards are Power and Equivocate, and your opponent's
Bartholo.
attacking in with a bunch of gunslingers, that's not exactly what you're looking for. Did you know Bartholo's a gunslinger?
I didn't actually know. No?
He
That's
is.
a weird try for him to be in. That's actually super weird, in my opinion. Oh, we see the... Was it an 8/8 white? It just was a little bit pixely on my screen. It was a big white, at least, from what I've seen.
But it's probably not going to matter.
Yeah, you're right.
With the help of Shugo Tactic on the units, either unit, that right there
Well
is
played.
lethal.
Well played by both players. I like that Kalos understood that she is in the beatdown position here, not letting anything stick on the board and just going ham. And that worked out rather well, actually.
Yeah, Isokron would definitely be more able to go late in that particular matchup. So it's
Absolutely.
important that Kalis does finish it off as fast as possible, which is what she did there, meaning that both players now have a win under their belts. It looks like Kalis, her other options are her Monofire Oni deck and her three faction Dural combo deck. Well, Isokron has, of course, that Elysian deck we saw and some Xenon action.
What do you think would be the right pick here to get ahead right now and get a good feeling about yourself? I think this mono fire archetype looks interesting, but could also be very hit and miss, especially with a deck with a lot of answers against it.
Well, that's the thing. I haven't really seen Kalos play anyone play the Monofire Oni yet, and have not seen Kalos play this version of Dural or really any Ural deck to a lot of success. So I don't feel qualified to answer that.
I feel the same way right now, actually. But we see some interesting choices in the deck. Anyways, we got Long Barrel Oni Dragonsmith that has a Dragon Ally effect +2/+1 and quick draw. So it would be a 1 mana free 2 quick draw unit with the additional effect of making your dragons cost 1 less.
That seems
And we
like a
can,
pretty good rate.
yeah, and we can see the Crimson Firemaw being in the deck as well. Flash Fire for some easy lethal later on. Sindok Rage Incarnate that costs 1 less for each damage you did to the enemy player this turn.
A very good play after an attack with a bunch of large units, but it looks like Kalos is actually on her Ural OTK here.
Mm-hmm.
So this deck functions, or is supposed to function, by having an opponent that has a bunch of units in play, having a Ural Iceheart with Overwhelm in play, activating his Infiltrate effect, and getting Aid of the Huru, because Aid of the Huru is the only spell in Kalos' deck.
And as you might remember if you turned up on Friday, the Kalos stack was playing against the Firebomb deck, I think by, was it Sifar?
Yes, Safar was running firebombs into Kalos, which was not a good matchup for Kalos.
No, it wasn't. Far away from it, but she still got to stabilize against this deck. And maybe we can see the combo coming off here right now, even though the aggression looks rather harsh here already.
I'm
False
under the
sprints also.
impression that she still needs a couple of turns.
The
False
question
Prince,
is she
definitely.
granted those turns though? Because I don't think she would be here. Even though the false sprints can easily be shut down with permafrost here. And you could probably use the changey stick to get rid of the Dawnwalker, especially the recurring effect of him. But we see a lot of other threats already, and the Xenon Obelisk in hand of Isokron. I think that could be hard to stabilize on. Also, Hunter's
Definitely.
Harpoon.
Yes, Hunter's Harpoon in this deck is one of the ways to have your all hit your opponent. But right now that your all does not have Overwhelm.
So we do see the permafrost on the 4/1. I assume Kalos wants to sheep or polymorph the 5/5 next turn. I'm not sure if that is longer a good play here with the Sandstorm Titan coming down as well. The endurance unit. I'm not sure if there's a decent out for Kalos here already. It's rather harsh.
That is one of the unfortunate things about playing such a slow combo deck into a consistent, fairly aggressive deck
Yeah.
that hits with massive units quickly. You might not have the time to be that delayed.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. We see Gerald coming down, but he's most likely gonna be blocker for now, or under blocking duties, I would say.
Yeah, that's all he really can
Surso.
be for now.
Yeah,
And Circe's not something that even Ural can block well.
that is true. I mean, we would have the changey stick, but we will take some damage this turn, no matter what. Most likely die. There's too much damage on Isokron's board right now. It's gonna be gonna be hard to stabilize here in any way.
Yeah, as cool of a concept as this deck by Kalis is, I feel it just takes too long. But
Mm,
oh yeah, she needed to have hit the Sandstorm Titan. No, yeah, she needed to have hit the Sandstorm Titan there if she wanted to win this. Because she could have stabilized at least by killing off Isogron's board.
yeah.
I feel like she was going too deep onto the combo there. I
I'm not
don't.
gonna lie, I have
Oh,
a hard time understanding the win condition. Like I see what it tries to do, but I don't think you will ever be granted that time you need to set it up. It's not like the Vodafone combo deck that miraculously pulled like 2 wins out of nowhere by having the exact thing they needed. But still, that's gonna be too much damage for Kalos, and that's gonna be the win for Isaacron on Big Elysian.
that is correct.
I
Isogron
really
now.
would love to see how this combo works out in the end.
Hopefully, we do get to see that, but Isogron just has the Xenon left to win to prevent us from ever getting to see that, or Onis.
I think at this point, Kalos is kind of required to make a YouTube video deck tag and show off the combo, right? For all the people who are sitting here in vain waiting for to see the combo go off and we never get to the point.
Maybe we get to see it go off now. The players are right back into game, man. And it looks like Kalos is still on the same deck, while Isogron is on Xenon Killers.
Do you think there was a way for her to rather use the Mono Fire deck right now?
I mean, she has to win with both of them at this point. Might as well run
Yeah,
back the one that you were just recently playing. More used to it.
yeah, I guess. We do see that Isokron surely loves those big, timey mid-range creatures. Seeing the Sandstorm Titan yet again, also the additional ramp from the Initiate of the Sands. So it looks like he likes time quite a bit, and who can be ashamed of that with having such nice units on the board right now, providing the pressure they need to pull the game out early.
Time is an objectively strong faction right now.
Yeah. With so many people either going aggressive or in the air to not fight Alessi on infantry levels, going in the air is kind of shut down by Sandstorm Titan. We've even seen people attacking in Sandstorm Scarf into their market to get rid of flyers trying to dodge or trying to be evasive. So, oh, I wasn't aware this. Wait, what? Where's the Bard coming from now?
Where's the what coming from?
The Bard on Kalos's field.
Oh, Frontier Bard. That's part of Kalos's deck.
Oh my, I didn't. Oh, you need to draw get overwhelmed,
Yeah,
obviously. Wow,
it's the
I
Inspire
actually
effect.
slept on that. I'm sorry.
And it's understandable too, but yeah, it is part of this deck intentionally.
Isokron has some nice ways to get rid of like anything on board right now. I'm not even sure if they are very afraid of the overwhelmed units being drawn with the Inspire effect, just because it requires quite some ramp up time to get this going. And I also think Isokron knows exactly what's going on. The combo is rather easy to understand, but yeah, also easy to combat because of that.
Yeah, it is. And Kalos does not have any removal for that Sandstorm Titan right now, as well as not really having any effective blockers for it.
Yeah. Yet again, we see the 5/6 for 4 mana punching holes in the enemy board. And we
Yeah,
also see. Sorry, come ahead.
it's one of those cards that just sort of says, hey, you thought you were going to be able to go long? No. Or you thought you were going to be able to do something cute? No. It's fighting time now.
Also, the 5/4 giving access to even more cards for Isokron. We see the second Dark Return being picked up here, while one already being played. We have a lot of recursion for Isokron as well with the Dark Return and the killer on the 5/4. On the 4/4, I'm sorry. And yeah, this is gonna be a hard game to stabilize from, seeing the damage incoming right now. This will most likely be Dark returned and put on the field yet again. We do have another scene initiation, and we have another card draw granted by the interrogator.
It's sometimes tough to remember which pinging unit it is. Is it the instigator or is it the interrogator? But this interrogator is going to become a Phyrexian arena. The
But we
top deck of
do.
Sandstorm Titan means that Scene and Initiation still can't be played this turn because it costs more than that, but there's the other Sandstorm Titan as well, putting Kalos to 2.
Yep. I'm not quite sure if there's any out for Kalos, but hard casting Aid of the Huru at this point, which won't happen. Geralt coming down, no overwhelm, and Geralt will be picked up easily by the killer effect from the Sandstorm Titan as well. And we do see 2 more teachers in hand for further shenanigans, but that's gonna be enough to give her the coup de grace.
And that means that Isokron took this match 3-1. Congratulations to Isokron.
Well played. Interesting decks to bring. I think Kalos is still trying to be spicy instead of very efficient, even though her Gunslinger deck obviously made some quick work of Isokron's deck. But I don't think this Gerald deck is quite yet where it should be for it to actually work on a consistent basis. Maybe we can help Kalos by providing some feedback on the deck. Maybe there's some easy fixes we can get going for to actually see the combo go off and look at it and see its beauty.
At this point, I'm not really sure what an easy fix could be for that deck. It's been through a number of iterations and hasn't proven itself successful in any of them, but I am impressed with and appreciative of her tenacity in attempting to find a way to make it work.
Yeah. So how are the standings right now? Would you like to tell us about the league points, Cygnus?
Oh, yes, I would love to. The league points are, of course, what people are playing for today. League points are what allow people to get into the invitational, where you get to go and have. Oh, wait a second. Before we talk about the invitational and league points, we're going to dive into Game 5 between Crack Variety and Safar.
Oh, nice. Let's get going, shall we?
We shall. This is Game 5, meaning both players have won with their other 2 decks, and they're down to just these ones. Looks like Safar is on good old Charge Rod. Well,
Yeah.
Crack Variety is on. Ooh, that's Stone. Not Stone Scar. My bad. It's Yetis.
Oh, you're right.
Skycrag,
It's
that's the
just
one.
Yetis.
Skycrag,
Nice.
yeah. That is a very dedicated Yeti Skycrag deck.
I haven't seen a Yeti deck in action for a long, long time, actually. I wonder how it can hold up against a Charge Rod deck with just efficient unit and even board clears. I guess we'll find out in just a second. They are both scouting right now, trying to find either power or units to drop. And that
I'm
is
not
Vump.
I'm not under the impression that the Yeti deck will be able to be quite fast enough to blow out Safar, especially if Safar is able to get that more power, or top deck another spell to be
Yeah.
able to play Answer the Call next turn.
I mean, it's gonna be a race for both parties here, for both CFAR and Crack Variety. We see Slope Sergeant, which could be an interesting pickup here. We know from drafting or from the draft format that Slope Sergeant indeed is a powerhouse if you can bond him.
But that's the top deck I was talking about. Safar will be able to discard that
Yeah.
Seek power, have 7
And
power
go.
to play Answer the Call. And Answer the Call and Charge Rod is capable of getting some crazy threats. Like, how about a
Ooh.
Caleb? He doesn't pick up a divining rod, but he still tosses weapons onto himself, whirling duo and bullet shaper. Looks like Backpacker's machete hit a scout, and then we see that Soulfire Drake is on top of Safar's deck. Soulfire Drake is a card that used to be played a lot in Charge Rod decks before it was nerfed for reasons that weren't the Charge Rod deck, and hasn't seen nearly as much play in Charge Rod nowadays.
Yeah.
But it's possibly correct to be bringing it back now that
Yeah, Chartrot basically was not thrown into the gutter by Direwolf Digital, but they tried to stop everyone from playing it. But as we can see, Sifar is still believing in the deck, and I'm thinking that Crimfan is also trying to revive it yet again, making it the deck that is either hit or miss on quite a heavy note. You either get your stuff off the dividing rod or your answer the call, or you might have a bad time.
well, it certainly is a hit or miss deck with a
Yep.
lot of high rolling. I mean, by nature, both the divining rod and the answer the call are about rolling the dice for RNG, but I think they're good enough. I still think Charge Rod is a good enough deck in the meta.
Yeah, absolutely. As we can see here, getting a board out of nowhere with like really big units, sometimes even lifesteal, just to stabilize, not even going for the aggression, is good enough. We can see Crack Variety building a really wide board, but oh, interesting tech choice with Cloud of Ash here.
Yeah, that is a very strong play. If Safar doesn't attack in for the win this turn, he loses.
Yeah. Wow. Out of nowhere, basically. That's really cool. But we do
Crack
see
Variety,
some lifesteal.
Crack Variety knows that these decks are that this Yeti deck can get into board stalls where it has a bunch of Yeti in play, and we're going to see the side effects of that right now.
Yeah,
Out
Cloud
of
of Ash
Ash
coming down.
to exhaust the entirety of Safar's board. Crack Variety gets to attack in for exactly 2 more than lethal.
Nice sequencing yet again. Like you can tell that those players absolutely know what they are doing. Even though we had an oppressive board against us and smaller units, they were still able to connect to the enemy face by making interesting, smart tech choices, knowing the weaknesses of their deck by providing the exhaust all enemy units. I think that's well played. Nothing else to say here.
Yeah, the red. And with that, that was also a match win for,
Track variety.
yeah, Crack Variety. Well done.
Well, yeah, interesting. With a Yeti deck against Shot Shot, man. Get some hype in here, guys.
Yeah, I thought Charge Rod was favored. Obviously, I was wrong.
Yeah.
But
Just
now,
the
as
sequencing was really good, trying to get every single point of damage out from the Yeti effects, especially with the Wump on the field. Even though he got slain the turn afterwards, we still got all the damage we needed for lethal here.
so, like you're talking about, league points.
Yeah, right. League points. Let's go.
This tournament provides league points to go to the ECL Community League Invitational. I just said Eternal Community League Invitational. I'm a genius. That will be 1 week from today, and the top 16 points holders, of which those are currently cross: Dr. Pringles, Sono, Isochron, Bruised by God, Second Blue, Sifar, Jez, Kalos, Houdini, Croge, Mulligan, Numbers, Bassoon Buffoon, Solar Flare, and Prometheus will all be going to that event. Now, after that, the people who are looking to get it in would be Flippy Flop, Eclipser, Fightsy, Hetman, Ontamu, Tony G, Crack Variety, who's actually here today. Crack Variety is one of those people that is looking to make that last run into the top 16, currently needing 5 points to get there. I think he might be able to pick that up today, especially with the
Looks
win right
solid.
there. it looks like the pairings for round 2 are already up. I think this round I would like to see Sono, who got the bye, maybe? Or we could dive into a matchup between Crack Variety and Isocron. I think Sono versus Kalos seems like a good idea, though.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's
deck that Tony G is, not Tony G.
Tony G.
Sono is bringing in is not going to be that armory deck. It's going to be his Stone Scar,
Heat
as
the
he
flame
says,
deck.
Dynasty Secrets deck. This is
Can't wait to see those secrets.
this is a crazy brew looking to get to Caleb or First Flame off of Reanimation, specifically Grasping at Shadows. We're not going to be using Mask to get there, as far as I can tell, unless I'm wrong. Yeah, because he's running Grenadin Drones and Back Alley Delinquents. So
I
this is
think the
definitely a
strategy. I think the strategy would be something along those lines of Praxis token in some way or another. But instead of shoving down that Xenon obelisk to provide buffs to your units, you rather use that K-Lab that you maybe can cast once or twice or even 3 times in a row with grasping at shadows and providing your units with weapons instead of an actual buff through the Xenon obelisk. So we will see a lot of token units being played here with Feed the Flames and discard outlets and all the good stuff. So let's see if that works out or not.
There's also a world where using his 4 combustion cells, 3 in the main, 1 in the market, Sono
Yeah,
could manage to ramp into playing the First Flame hard cast.
that could be true. Yeah. It's interesting to see all those fringe cards that are being used in 1 or 2 decks, like Canadin, for example, actually seeing play in other decks or people brewing with them. Because as you mentioned, this looks like a heavy brew list. And we also see Sono triggering the torch here on the Rakana Outlaw to just get rid of the early aggression and maybe getting some aggression in on their side as well.
Preventing war cries is always something you want to be doing if you have the opportunity to.
Absolutely, and shutting that plan down early is a very good idea.
Now we see Kalos does not have much in the way of early plays. This next turn, she could be playing a Highwayman, but Highwayman into an empty board doesn't seem great, especially since Sono has a lot of 1 toughness units. However, with Sono
Well,
getting and playing that 0 cost Grenadin drone, I might change my mind if I'm Kalos.
yeah, it makes it a perfectly viable plan here to actually play the Highwayman and even get the additional effects on the Highwayman itself. Also, we could potentially see Kalos deciding to drop tempo on this turn to play the Shugo standard instead,
Maybe.
depending. I'm not sure. Both would be fine plays, but the aggressive one would definitely be to play the Shadow Sigil this turn and get the Highwayman on the board, especially with a free 1 Reckless unit coming into play soon, or the both of them. Maybe that's actually your sign to hold back on the Highwayman for 1 turn and playing the Sugar Standard instead, or playing the Quarry.
Kalos isn't interested in holding back, though. It's time for aggression and killing a Grenadin and attacking in for 4 with lifesteal.
I guess that makes sense, seeing the torch in hand and the ability to quarry for another card on demand in case you find something that would help you. Also, combustion cell for Sono being picked up, that's gonna be a big one here. Just being able to provide the mana cheat by sacrificing a Grenadin and then drawing something big could really help here.
It is what she needs to be able to win here. She knows that Sono's deck has the more powerful late game than
Yep.
hers. So the aggro plan is a very good plan to go with. Now Sono will probably be discarding a Flame Fang
Yeah,
to
can see
Back
that.
Alley Delinquent. Maybe he chooses not to discard anything. He does go for getting the Sabotage so he can Sabo Kalos. I suspect that happens this turn alongside the Flame Fang. If not, then I feel like it's going to kind of moot because the spells that Kalos does have in hand right now would probably be going away if this weren't happening now.
The
Because she would
question
have
is, do
played
you
them.
get rid of the torch or the quarry here? I think both are viable plays, but Quarry could maybe try to elongate the game plan for yourself, trying to shut down the card draw of Kalos.
Sono has to weigh the value of the units currently in play to the value of card selection for Kalos when you don't know what else is in Kalos' hand. It
There we go.
looks like Sona picked the Quarry. There's a lot of good things to be said for that. I
Yep.
might have picked the Torch anyway, but that probably would have been a mistake on my part. That's why I'm casting, not playing.
Easy way out. We are always right and never wrong. Caster Vision TM. Sugar Standard coming down, providing that additional power. We didn't see another power being picked up this turn. We also do see another hideout pistol that could potentially kill something bigger. But for now, we get the Warcries and additional damage onto Sonos face. And for the trade with the market, most likely the Reckless Creature, the Firefangs, keeping the banner intact and even the Combustion Cell. You could also just change both if you just care about the body being on the field right now, trading the Combustion Cell with the Combustion Cell in the market.
Well,
Which could also conceal the fact that you have taken it, that you drew it already or draw it already and put it back in, at least until the second one comes out.
I mean, you could also just choose to not get anything out of the market if that's what you'd otherwise be doing.
Yeah. So they actively decided against the power play and going for another Feed the Flames, which is interesting. It looks like Sono has decided to go for an actual token strategy in this game now, trying to get damage and bodies on the board.
Yeah, kind of crazy that Sono has decided that Feed the Flames is a card that's supposed to be in the market of all places.
Yeah, but maybe that's exactly what this deck needs as some kind of gas refuel. And maybe it just works out fine. Like seeing the cards in Chaos's hand right now, we know that it doesn't really work out. But there could be a world where this aggression would be just enough to get a longer game for yourself and thus drawing more cards. But being
Maybe.
stuck at 4 mana and discarding your hand is rather harsh at this point, because you don't get to do much, even though your units and spells don't cost too much. It just feels bad being able to not do much here. We see the Flame Fang coming down. We have the Ixton on the board. We have the Grenadin that could be sacrificed for something. But there's nothing in the hand right now of Sono that would be worth it to sacrifice anything for. So the mana cheat is not helpful. Losing tempo, setting up the Combustion Cell at this turn, maybe not the right choice. Maybe going for another Flame Fang would have been better here, just to stay aggressive.
But the Flame Fangs are not going to have a good time attacking into Kalos' board at this point.
Yeah, but then why pick it from the market, you know? That's kind of like...
That's something I would be questioning as well. I mean, it's not like
Mm,
you'd be able to be playing First Flame or Bandit Queen, and there's not really anything in the void to get with Grasping at Shadows, which you couldn't even get with that merchant. So
I can see the plan Sono is going for. I can understand the deck's sense of existing right now, but I don't think all the choices being made for the cards in this deck are right there where they should be yet, at least. I think this requires some additional brewing and teching and just thinking about the concept. Like in concept, it looks cool, but we can see it gets shut down by a 4-2 unit. There was not much aggression on Kalos' side the whole game, and Sono didn't get to their game plan.
yeah, showing that this might not be the optimal strategy yet for playing the First Flame. I imagine that there might be a world where First Flame does have something good going on it. I mean, we've seen First Flame Mask of
A ramp deck, yeah,
Dramatis Mask.
basically a ramp deck.
We've seen Dramatis Mask work with the First Flame, but right now it doesn't seem that this deck is maybe the right option. At least it doesn't seem to have a good matchup against an aggressive opponent like Kalos certainly is being with this deck. Though perhaps Sono's deck here will prove successful against one of Kalos' other lists.
I can
Looking
see
at
the
you, you're
Chorale deck.
all
Yeah.
exactly slow. You're all deck.
I can see that slow deck having trouble against smaller token creatures, but as yet said again, I don't quite see it there yet.
Yeah, that's one of the things you really have to be wary about when setting up a list of decks for Conquest. If you have a deck that frequently has bad matchups, that can possibly be enough that you aren't able to win full matches ever because that deck you have trouble getting wins against, getting wins with.
Yeah.
You need to win with all of your unbanned decks. So even though Kalos is off to a lead, and her Rakano deck is fairly stock standard and quite strong, I do think that your All Azhar deck is going to need to go off for Kalos to win this match.
Yeah, I agree. We can see that both players are in the game already. We see a fairly decent hand for Kalos with a Bullet Shaper and a Privilege of Rank and 3 additional mana, as well as a Rezan and a Whirling Duo.
And a nice Skycrag hand for Sono. Sono
Yeah.
is bringing out the Skycrag list this time. Actually, it's not. Wait, yeah, it is Skycrag. My bad. I was looking at the wrong thing for a moment.
It's basically mid-range Skycrag in a way. It's not the aggressive long barrel version everyone knows and hates from Ladder. It's some different brew yet again from Sono, which I appreciate a lot. Not bringing the stock lists for every archetype, but trying out things that are interesting on their own.
It's also not Kenadin, which is
Yeah,
another deck that a lot of people know of in Skycrag factions. It's something somewhere in between, making use of Temple Shihan, Spirit Ward Shaman, and Zubiri for Inspire effects that also Dusk Raider, to get a bunch of Inspire effects on, I suppose, Duraka or Jack, Hunted Fugitive, or Jotun Feast Caller. And
I
Genev
like that
Merchant,
play.
of course, to grab Thunderstrike Dragons out of the market. Thunderstrike Dragon with Echo, of course, will mean that there's going to be 2 units picking up all of the abilities that Sono has given them off of Inspire, but right now there's no abilities to be giving there because Temple Shihan died quickly to a torch.
But I really
Zubiri
appreciate the
shows
plan there, trying to make the Bullet Shaper attack recklessly, which we will see this turn yet again. And we don't really see an answer from Kalos' side, most likely losing that Bullet Shaper's very versatile mana cheat option you have on the ultimate by discarding a spell. Maybe we can see Kalos going to the market and grabbing something just to get the effect off, which wouldn't be the worst thing, but also not the best thing. I'm not quite sure yet where this is going.
I
So
suspect
Barry,
she is about to go into the market. I don't see any other reason why she would be playing using that now, using that ultimate. Her options
Scale
are
Seeker.
Boar, Flamestoker, Rizan, Ikaria, and Rakano Banner. But yeah, Scale Seeker. That is a 4 of in this deck.
I like that
It's
choice. I
it's a
like
1/3.
Scout.
It's a 1/3 legendary for 2 that says pay 1 and exhaust Scale Seeker to Scout after the 3rd use. Sacrifice him to play a 5/5 dragon with flying. I feel like if you want to be running that, you might also be running things that are dependent on what the top deck is. I suppose Warcry kind of works like that, where you use the Scout ability, then play something with Warcry. But I'd be thinking like maybe a Rod deck or a
I think it's mostly to increase the consistency for the Rakano archetype, because Rakano is known for drawing sigils when you actually want to draw or drop Icaria or Rezans or anything that does something on the board. So just having it in the late game to get additional scouts going, I could see being very useful. On the other hand, if you face aggression, the 1/3 will not do much for you, but scout and lose you valuable time and mana to do something that's actually helping you on the board directly. So I can see where you're coming from. I can also see why this card is in the deck, playing Rakano myself quite a lot, but could prove to be bad, maybe? Could be a
Maybe
coin flip at least, I guess.
at this point, kind of is. Kalos in the market really is having a tough choice here. None of these are easy to deal with Zuberi.
But seeing your board right now and not seeing anything from Sono really coming up right now, you can just go for your own game plan. You don't always have to react to the opponent when your game plan is way stronger than theirs. And dropping a Rizan and Karia could just win you the game outright without going for convoluted ways in the market. She has 5 factions right now in fire and 4 in green. So she's decked out with requirements that have already been met.
Well, Sono has definitely not met the requirements beyond having Zuberi in play. There's going to be another few requirements that definitely do need to be met then.
Oh, yeah, I should have mentioned that. I didn't realize that Kalos already used the Bullet Shaper's ultimate. It kind of flew past me for some reason. I'm not quite sure why. Sorry for the confusion.
Yeah, she used it early on the Privilege of Rank just to get the Justice Sigils and not make use of the power that it would normally be ramping her for. It was
That's a fine play, though,
but
in Rakano. Absolutely agree that this is the right choice to make, just to not hardcast the free mana spell while you could do other things. Sometimes you just don't get where Bullet Shaper is really shining at, and you just take that additional mana to play another card in that turn, which then was the Ixen Merchant, right? I think.
no, that merchant wasn't played that turn. It was the turn after. Then the merchant was played. But
Okay.
I think that point is moot at this point.
Yeah.
The Bullet Shaper has died, which is actually another reason to possibly go with this route that Kalos went, knowing that
Yep.
the Bullet Shaper is likely to die fairly soon. This way, especially since it was reckless.
That's right. Yeah. I agree.
And just making sure that you get to cast that Privilege of Rank without having to spend power on it is something worth doing.
Yeah,
Like I said,
absolutely.
the point at this point is kind of moot, and that Dust Grader is a 5/2 with Aegis and double damage.
That's kind of ugly. I wonder what the right play here could be. I mean, you could afford to lose tempo right now since you do have bodies on the board, but that Flamestoker is a questionable decision to take here. I need to check what's actually in the market.
It includes another Razan and an Ikaria. Speaking of Razan, the one in our hand could have been played this turn. Although it wouldn't have straight up killed anything, it could have broken the Dust Raider's Aegis, which is something this Flamestoker play is definitely not doing.
Yeah. I wonder why you wouldn't pick out another Risan or even Icaria at this point. I mean, she top decked the baby Icaria, the green influence 2 mana creature in her hand right now, which, I wonder. Maybe she just wants to play Flamestalker for the lulz, you never know. I think the more efficient play would have been to either get Rizan for immediate impact with a ping, getting rid of the Aegis on the 5/2 and then consequentially killing it the turn after. But that Flamestalker won't provide much but 5 damage, which is basically the same as losing right now. You're not here to deal damage right now. You have to stabilize first before going for that Flamestalker at any point when playing the stack or trying to play the stack.
Yeah, this. Remember how I was saying that this is one of Kalos's stronger decks in the lineup?
Yeah.
It looks like it's about to lose to Sono.
Yeah, but I think that's mostly because there were wrong decisions being made, actually. We still see Rizan in hand. He's still not coming down. I'm not sure right now if he would have the lifesteal or not. I can't quite see that right now, but I think we most likely would have it at this point. Just
He would
having that.
not. There are only 2 spells in Kalos's Void right now.
Ooh. But still, that ping and getting rid of the Aegis on the 5-2 would be so big here. And Kalos could have 2 Rizans at this point, even Ikaria in place since we have the 7 mana. We decided actively against that part. Not quite sure why.
And there's a 6/2 Berserk double damage Aegis Genev Merchant that's going to the market where it can possibly pick up another Crystallize, or a Thunderstrike Dragon, or a Permafrost, Jotun Feastcaller, or Caleb's Choice. I imagine the choice is between Thunderstrike Dragon and Feastcaller.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Absolutely.
No, Crystallize, I mean. I think the Crystallize here allows Sono to win if he doesn't just win this turn, which it looks like he won't. So yeah, I'd be taking the Crystallize, maybe giving Kalos one more turn, but do you survive if Kalos gets one more turn? That's what Sono's looking at.
I mean, the Thunderstrike Dragon could potentially also be very effective against potentially Karia, which I don't want to say normal Rakano players, but Rakano players not in the spot would have most likely taken. So that stat line of 5-6 could prove worthful, I guess. Like, could just be a decent idea to get that out or in your hand.
Yeah, it's not like Sono's going to be playing that this turn, and I do believe that picking up Crystallize is a win right now. So the decision for Sono at this point is probably actually between Crystallize and Permafrost.
Yeah.
Crystallize to win the game next turn, Permafrost to prevent one of these units from attacking this turn.
But remember that Sono doesn't have the same information as we do. He saw that the Flamestalker was being played, but they also saw that a second market came down. So maybe they are afraid of not being able to hold back the Ikaria, with Permafrost being unable to tackle Ikaria, as well as the little Ikaria on the board right now. So
well, you do get to see if your opponent chose to go into the market or not. And since Kalos, I believe, did not go to the market.
I think Kalos changed both Rizans. They just exchanged.
Swapped Rizans.
Yeah.
Clever. Clever. But if she had swapped for the Ikaria, that might mean she'd win. And not doing that means that she does not have enough damage to kill Sono this turn.
Yeah. And Sono goes for the strategy you mentioned, which makes a lot of sense. Ooh, we see passiveness on Sono's side right now. Not sure if they want to tag or not. Knowing that they have the Crystallize in hand right now for another stall next turn. We have a sort of Ikaria on top of Kalos' deck right now. And we could see a Rizan coming down on the field just right about now. I don't think going for another scout would be the right decision here. We need the bodies on the board.
Since Sono kept back blockers here, I don't see Kalos being able to muster up enough force since she got that Razan instead of Ikaria.
Yep. I mean, I remember the first tournament I played with you guys, and you said as the caster back then, whenever you can pick Ikaria, it's the right thing to do so. And we see that twice not being done here. I think that's gonna cost Kalos quite heavily. It's the ABC of Rakano playing. Can you get Ikaria? Yes, go for it. You can't get her, still try to get her.
I I do believe that when your options are playing Ikaria or not playing Ikaria, barring situations with Sandstorm Titans or Sandstorm Scarves or big flying blockers on your opponent's side, the correct play is generally casting Ikaria.
Absolutely. I mean, let's not talk about the bustedness of Icaria, but she's just super strong, and there's no reason to not unleash this beast right now when you're in a decent position to still win the game.
She's designed to finish games,
Yeah.
and
We also see 5 health on Sona right now.
yeah, this game she could have finished.
Yep. Then again, we have to consider tournament pressure and knowing that 100 whatever people are watching you at this point, judging you and whatever. I think misplays happen in an environment like this way more often than it would on ladder. I can tell for a fact by myself that this is exactly the case. Missing lethal myself.
Kalos has been judged and found wanting. And with that, Sono is now up 2-1, meaning Sono only has to win with his Fire Time Primal deck. Now you'd think, oh, FTP, this is Moment of Creation, right? No, it is not. It is a deck that is once again full of various ways to inspire big things. This time that's Alhed, Mages of Celerity, and Dusk Raider.
I still want to see Kalos's plan with the Jara go off. I really back to the RNG gods in this game that we can actually see it being pulled off, just to see how good it would feel to get it. But I'm not sure, seeing how Sona has played so far, Kalos will be granted that time to actually get there. And we also see her playing the Rakano deck once again.
Sono's decks definitely do trend more towards the faster system, faster style of play. For just getting you the correct hand cam real quick, there was a spectator bug necessitating a quick swap, and there we are. Sono has a hand that could involve a turn 3 Dust Raider into a turn 4 Mages of Celerity. The second Mages of Celerity goes to the bottom, even though, having seen that Kalos is on Rakano here, Sono knows his opponent has access to Torch.
Yep. We also do see that Torch is actually in hand for Kalos, so the Dusk Raider would get wrecked right now. Unseal can't prevent this right now, since it costs 2 mana to cast. You could also see a potential Warcry, or just the Icaria effect going off here, which would make sense to ramp right now, having a Rizan in hand already, maybe drawing into your Icaria the next turns. But we do see Kalos actively deciding to not go for the ramp. And just making sure for newer players, the Icaria on board right now provides you with an ultimate effect. You pay 3 mana and you draw 1 Justice Sigil out of your deck directly, which is basically as if you would have 1 more mana, getting you 1 turn ahead if you can provide the other mana to get 2 later turns. So that's always a nice thing to do in a deck that strives to get to 6 and 7 as fast as possible. Hence why this card is being played in this archetype.
And for new players in Eternal, mana is called Power, because this isn't Magic together.
Yes. It is indeed called Power, not mana.
It's okay, that's a frequent Freudian slip for many Eternal players who have come from Magic or even Hearthstone.
Yep. We have quite some interesting choices to make here. We could play a Valkyrie Enforcer to get rid of the effect from Teacher of Humility at all. which would be the more proactive play at this point. We also see the torch could, yeah, which is what it's being decided on right now. And as you've just seen, the unseal will get rid of this effect right now. And the teacher could potentially connect in case Kalos doesn't want to sacrifice baby Ikaria. But I think buying another turn here with Ikaria and not getting hit by the teacher would be the right play to make here. We're still 3 sigils away for the second effect of Ikaria becoming a 4/3, getting into play.
You know how I have really harped on that if you can play Ikaria, the other Ikaria, not this Valkyrie captain, who I'm
Yep.
still not entirely convinced about. I mean, the ramp is for real good, but I've frequently seen her kind of do nothing in situations like this. My point is, if you can torch the teacher, you torch the teacher. But Sono knew that that could be happening with that unseal.
Yep. I mean, there's not much to decide here right now. We know for a fact that we have Valkyrie Enforcers in hand already. We can just get rid of the card text from teacher, not getting hit by the disciplinary weights. But now we're in the weird space where we also have to get rid of the Magus of Celerity, which could potentially bring out way more interesting creatures than the disciplinary weights could hinder us in our own game plan. So now Kalos has to decide which path to take. Maybe drawing a mana and silencing both would be extremely nice here. Maybe just pinging one of the free freeze would be enough with a Rezon. We get a power here. That's a valuable option right now. I think the right play would be here to silence both because we know what's going on and what Sono's trying to do. But playing the Rezon right now makes sense because obviously we had caster vision and seeing the big Carnosaur on the deck, lying on the deck by Sono. So it's always easier for us to obviously evaluate which plan makes the most sense. But when you see a card like Magus of Celerity in your enemy deck, you know for a fact they plan around that.
That's a bit of a non-bow, though, Carnosaur with charge, because it
Yeah.
already has Killer, which is frequently what you do with a Predatory Carnosaur the turn you play it. The pickup of Equivocate here means that Sona will be able to get in for 3 damage, which is possibly relevant.
We can also tell by this play that Sono is very well aware of the situation that Kalos is in turn 7, which usually means Karia bringing down the Justice at this point. So saving that killer right now, right here, is actually very smart in a usual game. But again, we have caster vision and we can see that there's no Ikaria just yet. But gameplay-wise, this was the right decision to take. And we see the silence coming down.
Just in time, too, because Teacher of
Yeah.
Humility could have been showing up with charge this turn.
Yep.
If it weren't for that silence.
I'm not sure if I like the way Kalos tackles this game or the last 2 games we've seen with Recano yet. Since Recano is known for playing efficient creatures on curve and then curving into your big finishers in the end of the game, she's kind of holding back every single turn we've seen so far, not going for the proactive play, getting chip damage in with the Valkyrie Enforcers. Remember, they could have come down 2 turns earlier. In turn 5, she top decked the sigil. That could have been 6 damage more. Even the 1/1 is a 5/5 even, and one would have been 9 damage more to Sono's face. Every little bit counts in the end, and you want to win. You don't just want to stall and wait for your Ikaria. You don't need her to finish the game. I think a little bit more proactivity on Kalos' side, going more ham, would have been decent in this matchup. She's giving Sono too much time to draw decent answers. We do see Harshul on top through the scout of the dragon, whatever his name is. I can't remember right now. Is it Scale Seeker?
It is Scale Seeker.
Scale Seeker, right.
Speaking of dragons, here is a Thunderstrike dragon. Normally we'd see that on Sono's side because it's in his market, but right now it's going to be on Kalo's side after they equivocate on the Razan.
Yep. And that's obviously the right play to make here, which also means, on the other hand, that Sono wouldn't have any defense against an Ikaria coming down right about now. But we do see the 8 mana Hush, so one more turn for Kalos to hold out for a hero. Maybe top decking Ikaria in the meantime. That's a sigil. We can see the scout coming off of the 1-3. We can see the payoff, the 1-3 getting a 5-5. But at this point, you have to hold back and defend yourself and Hush rule the next turn. Otherwise, this game will be game over very soon. What do you think about that attack she's planning to do right about now?
That her choice to hold back and not actually attack here is a good one.
I think she missed a spot where she could have been aggressive or be the aggressor in this matchup. And doing it right now would have been a fatality, in my opinion. So nice to see Kalos acknowledging that fact and holding back for now, potentially using the harsh rule next turn to get rid of these enemy board right now.
Now, Sono chooses to attack with just the Predatory Carnosaur and is able to blow out a multi-block with Torch,
Yeah, you're right.
especially if that multi-block involves the Bullet Shaper.
I mean, at this point, from Kalos's perspective, it doesn't really matter. She could potentially triple block here just to be super safe because she knows Harsh will come down. Depending on how Sono is using his mana, though, we should expect an unseal on the enemy hand, maybe seeing a play around that. But it's kind of hard when you're not in the leading position to do anything here.
Kalos just has to bank on Sono not having it.
But having it is basically like having Stand Together at this point. Does the exact same thing, denying you the harsh rule, which you absolutely need at this point.
At least the Unseal wouldn't also give each of Sono's units +1/+1.
That's another thing to talk about, but you're right.
And also would leave the Dragon in play for Kalos. So there's definitely ways that Stand Together is better, but it's a moot point because there is no Stand Together. Sono goes for dragons. Those are just going to be normal flying Echo Dragons. And shoutouts to the animation for Premium Thunderstrike Dragon is good.
Yeah,
It's real good.
absolutely. We could see Kalos being even more greedy in this case and waiting another turn, blowing off the Aegis of the Jennifer Merchant with the Valkyrie Enforcer. And she just saw that Sono filled his hand with 2 cards at the same time, so she knows exactly what's in there, checking the markets on Kaleri's website. Remember, we run open deck lists here, so everyone knows what's in the other one's deck. So that should be an easy spot here. If you can hold out right now, you should probably bait a bigger harsh rule. And that's exactly what Chaos is going for. She could take another 6 damage. She can prevent 6 damage if she would like to.
Also playing out the Whirling Duo to provide another blocker and also possibly gain some life before this brilliant green explosion ends the Battle of Argenport.
Yeah, you're right. And we can also see that this could potentially be a bluff in direction to Sono, saying, I can't deal with this right now, and then baiting the dragon out. Because right now, Sono could just go for an attack and get rid of the units one by one next turn and this turn and the turn after and play safe. But it looks like they will have some. They will connect some damage to the face, but not everything right now. They will get some decent blocks on Kalos' side as well. But I'm not sure yet if Sono is going for the bait or not. It's hard to tell at this point.
I imagine in this situation, Kalos would want to double block the Carnosaur with
Yep.
Enforced Dragon and the Whirling Dog and eat up some of the 3/3s, but now she's just going to double block with the two big ones. That also makes sense here because they're less likely to die to something small. But an
Yep.
Equivocate definitely would not be small anyway, though Sono is running torches. And that's what Kalis was avoiding being blown out by.
I mean, we can see that Sono maybe got the read, but doesn't care too much, knowing that it's the last card in her hand right now, next to the Seek Power that he isn't aware of. He's also not aware of the fact that Kalos does have a harsh rule in the first place, so that could be interesting.
The thing about this harsh rule for Kalis, playing it out here leaves her up against an opponent who she knows still has another Thunderstrike Dragon in hand, will
Yeah,
she be in top deck mode? Be able to
absolutely.
commit to the board before her.
It's just an awkward spot in general. I'm not quite happy with the fact how this played out yet this far. We do see the Crystallize coming down and
For
Sono not
lethal.
caring anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that
GG.
top deck Genev Merchant allowed him to go into the market, send the second Thunderstrike Dragon back. Hey, if we ever want you back again, we can get you with another friend. But we're not going to want you back because we just won anyway, meaning that deck won't be seen to play for Sono anymore. Now, I did make a mistake earlier saying that Sono's Stone Scar had already gotten a win. It is not, meaning that Philip still has a chance here, and Sono still needs to win with Stone Scar.
I think if there's one thing I would like to tell Kalos right now is try to be more proactive on board early on. Try to be the aggression when you see your opponent has some downtime, doesn't quite do threatening things yet.
It's possible that her dedication to the all Ice Heart combo playstyle has
Yeah.
corrupted her to the point where she no longer understands how to be proactive.
I like that. Thank you. That made me chuckle. But we do see Kalos deciding on running her Rakana list yet again. We also see Ixton Merchant. We have a torch for early interaction, and we see the first flame in the hand of Sono. Maybe we can see Sono's game plan coming together this time a bit faster than last time. We also see the combustion cell, which allows them to ramp into their later mana stages way earlier.
Now, I should point out that the Grasping at Shadows is a one of in the market. Well, there are three merchants that can go get that, and Ixton Merchant is not that merchant. There are three
Right.
merchants in Sono's deck that can get that one of.
Yeah.
And of course, Sono would also have to get the first flame into the void to reanimate it. He's quite a few power away from being able to play it. There's actually a world where maybe he sends the first flame to the market to pick up Feed the Flames, since he's looking to be playing that now 7-cost Caleb fairly soon.
Yeah, you're right. We also see Sono having an answer to the early Icaria that could potentially mean to shut down the ramp of said Icaria. It's usually a good idea to get rid of her before she gets her ultimate off, which is exactly what Sono decides to do. But we do see the Bullet Shaper and the Privilege of Rank in hand of Kalos right now. And I think I would go for it right here, right now, just to not hardcast it again. And maybe even play the Ixton Merchant out, getting rid of the Torch, maybe knowing that there's no teacher right now. But that's for Kalos to decide here.
Kalos
See
decides
exactly that.
it's once again time to use the Bullet Shaper. This time it does allow her to go get the Ixton Merchant play this turn as well. And her market, what does she get from her market here?
I mean, seeing her game plan this far, I think she would go for something earlier than Icaria. Maybe she heard us flaming her as well, and she just goes for the Icaria. But
She goes
knowing
for
that
a
she has the second, yeah, I like that. She goes for the additional power because she does have the second external merchant in hand, maybe dropping the torch next turn and trying to get Rizan or Icaria out early on this time around.
It's now Sono's turn to go to the market, and the play
Yep.
was indeed get Feed the Flames in exchange for a first flame. Now there's two first flames in the market, interestingly. And I suspect Sono plays Feed the Flames right now, perhaps discarding Seed of Chaos. Or he might also want to wait because he knows he needs that one more power and the Combustion Cell in play to be able to get to the power to play Caleb.
Yeah, I think it would be smart to just hold out here right now. You're not that far behind on board. Also, you don't necessarily know what your opponent is betting right now. I think Sono got the message from Kalos earlier that she's not going for the standard win condition of Rakano necessarily. And seeing the banners soon, he will probably get even more information about that whole thing. We see a Rizan top deck though. This could change quite a bit. I still think going for the external merchant and getting rid of the torch here would be nice. And maybe even grabbing a second Rizan would be a decent choice here.
Razan definitely works well against the units that are currently in play for Sono,
Yep.
and getting as many of them off the board as soon as possible before the Caleb shows up is definitely something to consider, but I'm not sure that Kalos seems to be going quite for that plan. Because, like, why wouldn't she have done it that turn? She just did nothing.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, there is a point where Rizan should actually ping down the Grenadin right now. Maybe
Wait,
trying to get rid of them before the actual turn comes up.
and here are the Flame Fangs for Sono. He only gets to play one here.
They get rid for they try to set up for the Caleb turn, most likely coming up next turn, trying to get
Kalos
as many
chooses
minions out.
to torch the Flame Fang over the X10 Merchant, which is a odd choice to me. I feel like you'd rather the 3-1 Reckless in play than the 3-3 Overwhelm, but I suppose since she's going to be killing both of them anyways, it doesn't really matter. Now she does get to get in for an attack, and suddenly this playing Caleb here plan doesn't feel nearly as great since it will only be him and one Grenadine getting weapons.
Yeah, that was not too bad actually. Looked worse on paper than it actually turned out to be. You're absolutely right with not as many units on the board with Caleb weapon stuff coming up now. Actually, it would be one in exact that moment. But that could still be enough to push some stuff through in case you get some decent weapons from the Caleb drop. And Caleb looks like he looks super healthy right now. Is
But
that a
not
Parma?
very beefy. No, it's just your good old Worn Shield. One cost 0-3 weapon
Oh,
that no
right.
one ever uses because it's black. And Blackguard Sidearm went on to the little Grenadin, which does not make it big enough to attack while Razan is sitting around. Looks like Kalos is attacking with everything, possibly planning to fire off a harsh rule here. But I'm not entirely sure that's even the correct play.
I
You
really hope she doesn't. She needs to stay in the driver's seat right now. She's unimpeded in the air. There's no reason for her to drop the board right now. In fact, she should actually use the extra merchant to trade. And it looks like Sona knows what's coming up. Let's see surrender.
He takes the loss, meaning that his last thing is going to be fighting against Kalos on the Jarl Iceheart combo. I imagine his reasoning for conceding right there is that these players are fairly low on time at this point.
Yep. That's
and
a smart move.
Being low on time also means that they got right back into this game for Game 5, the last game of this particular round. Sono is, of course, still on this Stone Scar list. Well, Kalos is on her Ural Ice Heart combo list that she's been really into recently, since a number of ways to essentially have spells in your deck that aren't actually spells have been added to Eternal.
Yeah, I wonder how this would work out now. We know both decks for now. We have seen quite a bit of them in action. We know that Kalos' deck struggles with early aggression, even though her hand looks way better this time with some early aggression herself. Also the additional ramp from the Maker.
And
You
while
also
that's
see the Hunter's
happening,
Harpoon.
Sono really doesn't have a huge amount. I mean, he's got the Flame Fangs that he doesn't even play. He'll probably be playing next turn Merchant, next turn sending one of those Flame Fangs to the market, or possibly now playing out of Flame Fang and combusting the Magus.
I could see that, yeah.
Though he knows that Kalos' main game plan is to win with Dural, so maybe that Combust is meant to be kept for him. Looks like, due to that, he is going to be extra Merchant, probably sending a Flame Fang to the market. Maybe the first Flame, if Sonar decides it. That's also an option.
I think the first flame is a safer bet here, especially since you could bring it back. But we do see the Flame Fang. I can't quite see yet.
Now that Feed the Flames can be used to discard first flame, and Sona does have the second merchant, though it's not the merchant able to get him grasping at shadows.
We do see some early aggression this time from Kalos and the draw coming off of the Hunter's Harpoon. We also see the whole Plunderer in hand right now. I need to actually check the deck list to see if there's any Spellcraft weapons but the Long Barrel.
There are a lot of spellcraft weapons in Kalos' deck. That's one of her
Changey
ways of,
Stick,
Mhm.
Long Barrel, yeah.
That's one of her ways of interacting.
Mm-hmm. So for now, we get some additional card draw on Kalos' side through the Hunter's Harpoon, giving the unit quick draw and drawing a card in case they connect with the enemy face. Let's see what Sono thinks about all of this here. Is there something to be said for an early combust right now? Maybe dropping the 1 mana Flame Fang and getting rid of the mages.
He top decks grasping at shadows. That means that this is gonna happen. This turn, Sono plays Feed the Flames, discard first flame. Next turn he plays. Oh no, he's gonna combust. He does want to get that Magus out of the field.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Ooh, the Steward. Which could potentially silence the 11 mana cost, 11 power cost creature right now.
Steward of Prophecy, not Steward of the Path.
Yeah.
Steward of Prophecy is a very good play for Kalos if she chooses to play it right now.
Also, just to get some more intel on what's going on in the enemy's hand, it's never bad to check and see what they're trying to do right now or trying to assemble with the market. And we see the silence coming off on the first flame right now. I mean, it's still a super big creature in case it will get it will get discarded by Feed the Flame. It's not quite as impactful anymore, and we see the permafrost as an answer already in hand. Yep.
Yeah, players of course only get to see the viable targets for hand hate effects like Steward of Prophecy in Eternal. So the only information Kalis really got there was the first flame and that the other cards in Sono's hand were not the first flame. The silence on the first flame, however, is super important. And we see that Kalos has drawn one of those 8 of the Huru, and I believe the decks that she's been running run 2. So if she top decks the other one, her combo can no longer function.
I can see running 4 of 8 of the Huru being too clunky. But there is a world where you try to play combo deck and that combo doesn't even work anymore. But I mean, with the Jotun Feast callers right now, she does have a nice way of drawing more cards and having something, a strong unit in general, on the board. But we see a depleted power coming up, so no turn 4, only 3 power left to actually do stuff. So the Magus of Celerity is coming back on the field.
But Sono really doesn't have any units in play right now, and
yeah,
that could prove to destroy him up against these Jotun Feast callers that are going to show up in the coming turns. He will be able to play both of the Flame Fangs here if he so chooses, and then can kill the Mages of Celerity if it attacks. I suspect it won't because of the power of its Inspire effect. Maybe Kalos could choose to double Permafrost, but I think that's definitely a worse play than just playing out a Jotun Feast color.
Well, not if you can't play them because you don't have the mana right now, which is exactly what
You're
happens.
right. It costs 5.
Yeah. It's an awkward spot for both players right now. They need more mana, more power to get their game plan going. And going for the Permafrost is actually the right call. But now, yet again, we see the power.
It looks like Sono is going to reanimate something. There's a world where First Flame just as an 8/8 is a correct play.
Yep.
There's also a world where Extant Merchant to go into the market and get something else is also a correct play. But it looks like the choice here is going to be that First Flame as a vanilla 8/8.
Which is strong enough right now to pressure Kalos quite a bit over the next 2 or 3 turns even. She can't really drop the Jotun Feast Callers this turn yet again due to the depleted power. And the Magus will have to block here. Even though there could be a world where you take that at 8 damage just to get an additional draw in.
Yeah, I don't agree with blocking there, but also at this point the things that Caleb could be drawing aren't really going to be useful to have charge. So maybe that's the reason why that was the choice. I'm still not sure I agree with it.
I mean, we can see the side effects of running a lot of depleted power in your deck yet again.
The biggest reason to not have blocked there is that Kalis should be wanting to keep a unit in play in case she top decks Changey Stick. Changey Stick to turn the first flame into a 1/1 is her out here, really.
But she got a scout off last turn, seeing that the steward would come next. So I think she just wanted to buy another turn by sacrificing the unit immediately.
Well,
I think
that's
the
what
scout...
she's done again as well.
Yeah. I mean, Sono has to stay on the aggressive side right now. Attacking with the 8/8 could potentially give you a clear board on the enemy side yet again.
However, that clear board would result in the death of the first flame, which has the plus side of you being then able to reanimate it again, but it looks like instead Sono does want to go to the market now. What do you think he gets here? Something to be said for Bandit Queen, something to be said for First Flame. Probably nothing to be said for those 2 flame things, though.
I think I have to gently disagree with the play here. I think the right play would have been to try to get through and get the additional card draw off of Kalos gone for now. Because I'm pretty sure seeing that block earlier, Sono got the signal that... What?
Time must have been called.
Okay.
Time was definitely called, and that means that the round was over at some point. I'm not actually entirely sure. Our producer and tournament organizer will chime in as to when that ended and who won. Now
That's
for
kind of surprising.
Now, for events going to time like this, we are currently using the tiebreaker system that is used in Eternal, and it seems that Kalos was ahead on life when time was called. The tiebreaker system in Eternal doesn't come up frequently, but when it does, life total is the first thing to look at.
Maybe
So,
that's why she blocked.
yeah, that would make sense. They must have been recognizing that it is almost time's up, and due to that, Kalos wins that match.
Wow. Actually stunned right now.
Now we're going to take another quick break and be back for round 3 fairly soon. So we will be going live with the next round really soon, and that will be Safar versus Isocron. But before then, I want to shout out our newest and one of our biggest donators so far, Sillyhead Pantsman, for the $50 bomb onto the invitational prize pool. That puts us up to nearly $170 right now for the players that are going to be in our invitational next week. A week from
As
today are
far
going to be
as
playing
I
for.
know, Silly Hat Pantsman told me that he wants an incentive for the community. So he wants to actively get other people into donating as well, and proposing the idea that if we don't get to $300 until the invitational, he will take over the rest of the money so that we get up to the $300, which is amazing. Thank you very much. Absolutely bonkers, man.
But now you've given other people an incentive to let him cover it. Y'all should be good Samaritans and chip in some of your own as well. Come on.
He told me that he thinks that that money is worth it for this community. So even if we don't get other people to donate right now, he's still more than happy to help out and provide some decent prize pool for the players participating and using their time and effort and quality time and spare time to get those points in. So yeah, I get what you mean, but I still think this should be mentioned just as much. So
It,
thank you very
yeah,
much yet again.
it is really uplifting to feel that something we're doing like this is resulting in people like silly head pantsman. It's a hilarious name and really tough to say correctly, but it's good. Is really enjoying it. It's uplifting that there is this support for this, and pretty soon we're going to be able to get you some more Eternal.
A bigger prize pool usually also means that more people would be interested in participating. So those people knowing that there's actual money in the line to up for grabs, basically, I think we could see a surge in new participants maybe. And this is exactly what he wants with this donation. I
That
also know
was
for a fact that he's not even playing Eternal himself. He just came on here and enjoyed the show.
oh, that's crazy. Now it looks like
Exactly.
we have the faction board up and ready so that we can see what Safar and Isochron are on. Now we saw Isochron earlier on in round one, but since it's been a little while now, let's go back over those. There is Voda Combo
Ooh.
and a fairly classic Elysian mid-range deck, killers style with Circeos and Twilight Hunts and Xenon Initiations and the whole thing. Actually, it's running Twilight Hunts over Initiation. Interesting. Then there's a Praxis deck that's making use of Magus of Celerity to try to give Teacher of Humility charge and some various other ways to really try to hit in with Teacher. Also, Zaberi for Zaberis is becoming a thing apparently, or not again. It's starting to become a thing. And lastly, his trusty Xenon Killers list over on Safar's side. And we see of those four options, it was Voda Combo that got banned by Safar. Over on Safar's side of things, there's
I think banning Vodacombo here in this format is actually not too bad for both players, considering we just had a tiebreaker and didn't even get games to finish. So
yeah.
as we learned on Friday, those games take quite a long time, even in a
But
smaller format.
But Safar is also running long game decks, including Camel Chalice. That's a
Oh,
fairly
right.
trusty deck for Safar at this point, and that wasn't even banned because Isochron instead decided to ban Felon Control. The other decks that Safar is on are Alessi, Aegis deck. Your very traditional for the Fall of Argenport meta,
Mhm.
Alessi aggro, and Charge Rod, which is another fairly traditional deck from this current meta. And players are ready, and we've been talking for long enough. It's time to let them get to play.
We do see Isaackron keeping his hand.
That is correct. This hand has now access to turn 2 Teacher, but it does have a turn 3 Magus of Celerity or Aurelian Merchant, which can get Predatory Carnosaur, the one of Xenon Initiation that's in the market. Or
Mhm.
maybe there's more in play. I was thinking about the other time-based mid-range deck that Isochron's running, because he's running a lot of time-based mid-range decks here.
Yeah, and we see a quite aggressive hand even for Isocron at this point. We also see the Carousel already being picked up and the Aurelian Merchant in the Scout, so that's gonna be kept on top for sure. We also see some excess power in hand, so there's nothing to stop Isocron from actually ramping into his later threats. And we also see the Torch answering the Teacher from the start, which is a really nice thing for Isocron right now. getting hit by that teacher would delay his whole game plan by quite a bit.
Certainly. This is a
But
teacher mirror. Oh, look at that.
yeah,
I'm on the wrong hand cam. My bad.
you are.
You guys will
I just
actually get
realized
to
that.
see Safar's hand rather than me being a dingus.
I was like, huh, is that actually a mirror? No, it's not, right?
No, of course not.
Yeah, it's a
Safar's on
Lassie.
Alessi Combre here.
Yeah,
An Alessi in play, 2 Xenon initiations, and a Crown Watch tactic. I suspect that he probably blows the Crown Watch tactic to let the
yeah.
Alessi survive this Heart of the Vault now because the Alessi's his only threat at this point.
What
A
an
top deck
explosive start,
Crown
man.
Watch press gang, though, will definitely add more threats to the board for Safar.
Like, to be fair, considering how clunky that hand looked for Isokron, getting the carousel on the first draw, this looks really, really strong and right now, and there's no combat trick to save the Alessi right now. This looks pretty good for him right now. Another threat coming down. I don't think Alessi has enough power to stop this anytime soon. They will need to start blocking soon enough, and the Alessi won't have time to grow. We have
You are
access
correct
to the
about that.
market. Isokron had an amazing start. Holy. We see the
Yeah, and
press
Safar
gang. Yeah?
really has not had a very good start.
No, not at all. Like, it seems interesting to me that those time praxis mid-range decks seem to have so much power lately. With so many good cards being added, just a carousel to give you more draw in case the enemies play spells, which they do in this meta right now. The merchant giving you additional ramp. This deck looks just really, really strong right now.
It is showing itself off right now, and look, here's another threatening unit in Zaveri who has charge, meaning that's going to be a +3 attack trigger onto the top card of Isokron's deck. One of the cool things I like about this deck is since he is running Zaveris and All Heads, there is a world where All Head buffs up Zaveri and means that Zaveri's then buffing up other units more, and because in that world All Head is still in place, Zaveri's attacks are going to make the units that Isokron draws even bigger after being built up by All Head. But there we see that that hand was just unstoppable.
Not
And
even, wow, like, they're just thrashing the game.
a really quick and easy win for Isokron there. But we'll move into another game and see if maybe Safar can give like Safar just got, which is something I think this deck can do.
Yeah. So that's exactly what happens if the Alessi deck doesn't draw as well as they could. They had some spells, but nothing to interact with the scene and initiation. Even maybe taking bad rates, not even staying on board while trading. So as you can see, have an explosive start with additional ramp like this time mid-range Praxis deck just had, can just outright beat Alessi without even fighting. Absolutely blown away by the fact how quick Isokron won that match just then. And we see the Elysian deck being picked second here with double teacher in hand. Wow.
And Safar decides not to run it back, instead going for Charge Rod now. It's an
I think
interesting
Safar doesn't
choice
want
to be.
to give it up just yet then.
It's an interesting choice by Safar to be running Power Stones in Charge Rod now. I
Yeah.
feel like it is nice to be able to get the extra power ramp, sort of to offset the fact that Answer the Call is no longer 6 cost and is now 7, but it also kind of feels clunky because that's another card in your deck. I wonder what those Power Stones are replacing and how many he's running. I feel like it might be a 2 card.
I think that Power Stone is mainly in there because people have started to realize that getting to your big finishes faster than your opponents or giving up the board until you can drop your big finishes is not a bad thing to do. Like right now, we see that the teacher will connect, but in any other matchup, this Power Stone could significantly help Sifar to get to his Charge Rod or answer the call or even Icaria. So I can see that being the case here, but the double teacher hit will hurt.
I mean, this charge rod deck, the only things that are really getting their cost increased are going to be the cards drawn out of the market, which could be an answer to the call, but so it kind of shuts off the market,
Yep.
though that privilege of rank can be discarded to a bullet shaper next turn to play Icaria, though instead Safar is going to go ahead and play out the Whirling Duo as a way to potentially deal with one of the teachers, but Isokron says, no, I'm just gonna win now.
Isogron doesn't seem to care too much about what Sifar wants to do here, going for his own game plan, and that's the exact right thing to do here in this case, as we can tell.
Now, the
For,
torch Safar had means that it wasn't winning right there because he was able to torch the False Prince that turned into a frog. That's what False Prince does when it gets targeted.
is there something to be said about the lifesteal unit attacking right now? Because we know it wouldn't change too much. That's not gonna figure that out actually.
Yeah, there is something to be said about it. It would be an absolute horrific mistake.
But you do know that your opponent already had access to the market and the Xenon Obelisk wasn't what they pulled. So I'm pretty sure Sifar would expect a Connoisseur seeing the open deck list.
Then he best have units there to be hit by the Carnosaur. Like that Whirling Doe that he did choose to attack in with, and if if he didn't, I don't agree with Safar's line of play here, but I also think it's not going to wind up mattering. Isokron once
Yeah.
again got off to a rather blistering start that is resulting in a very fast game two as well. I suppose Isokron's saving up a time bank for the last deck that he brought here today. Actually, no, that's Safar who brought the slow deck. My bad. Isokron's last deck is also fast in the Skycraig Inspire deck. I like that Isokron's messing around with Inspire today.
Yeah. A lot of people seem to get away from the standard lists or stock lists and try to give their own touch to some of the decks that have already seen play quite a bit, which is definitely interesting and should be encouraged. And it feels like the meta hasn't settled quite yet. There are many decks that are viable that basically tackle each other in a rock paper scissors format.
Yeah, we're definitely still in the exploratory phase of this meta. I feel
Yep.
like it's been a lot longer for this meta, thanks really to the nerfs that have come out. So I'm very glad that Direwolf has been making use of the fact that this is a digital card game where things can be changed, and that
Yep.
the Alessi Blitz decks that TGP found the solution for, and the answer the call moment or answer the call anything decks also have seen their time of day, but also then got summarily destroyed because that's what needed to happen to allow us to continually having this exploratory time. Meaning that now we have all these various different decks. The Alessi decks are possibly the Comrade Alessi decks might possibly be the top tier deck right now, but even that, or Volcano Valkyries, they're they're high tier, but still there are other options that also work out, such as Xenon deck that Isochron's on.
Absolutely. And we can see that Isochron's
Wait.
yet again putting up the pressure right now. And we see double block.
Wait a second. Isochron on the Xenon deck? Did we have a... Oh, of course. We, the the visuals were messed up a little bit on our faction screen. Isochron does not have a Skycrag deck. It is this trusty Xenon Killers list instead. Sorry about all the confusion that might have brought upon anyone.
You think there's a point to be made for Dark returning the teacher here? Or do you try to bait something bigger? It looks like Isochron is fine with the board state for now.
Isochron has the commanding board state right now and is going for the, hey, I'm just going to keep attacking with this World Bear Behemoth until it dies, and if it dies, I'm going to Dark Return it, and it's going to be even bigger and still have the number of attacks it's already gotten in, meaning it's going to give me a ton of power. Or maybe Isochron's going to go into the market and get Xenon Initiation to be able to tack in with the World Bear Behemoth and put Safar to 2, while also preventing Wandering Wisp from growing. Safar's market choices at this point: Sandstorm Scarf, Stand Together, Luminal Claimer, Passage of Aeons, and Sword of Unity. Safar won't have enough power to play Passage of Aeons here, and I don't think any of the other ones really allow Safar to...
Wow.
That top deck is good, that's for sure.
Absolutely.
Right on the top to go get another Wandering Wisp. Ooh, and to Stand Together. These are the sort of things that Safar needs to be getting to possibly be able to survive this 9-10 overwhelming threat well at 2.
There might be some worlds, just some, where they trade the Wisp for the Sword of Unity. And they did exactly that, which is nice to see. But they need to stay safe for now.
Safar didn't play the Sword of Unity, though.
Yeah.
And Isochron has seen the pause, knows that there's something in Safar's hand. That something turns out to be Stand Together. And
is that enough?
Well, Safar will be able to survive this turn. Safar won't be living here. We'll just be surviving. If you get what I mean there.
Yeah.
Safar will not take damage, but will also still be in a horrible situation.
Harsh Ruler Bust with no Harsh Ruler in sight. I like the blocks though. And we have to remember that we get lifesteal right now on the Alessi, but that's still not gonna be enough, and Safar concede this round as well.
And it sounds like the other match was over in quick fashion too.
Yeah.
So this is the completion of round 3. We will have one more round after a quick break.
All right, catch you soon.
All
Ayo!
right. Oh, you go first then.
No, I just wanted to say ayo!
Ayo it is! This is round 4, which is going to be our last round of this tournament. We're going to have Kalos versus Safar. And maybe this time we get to see your All Eyes Heart combo fire off, you think?
Maybe? I mean...
Statistically, the chances might be slim. But it's not as if it's been banned. I feel like many of Kalos' opponents have decided it would probably be a mistake of them to ban that deck, that they generally have a good win rate against it.
You mean they want to feed on the memes Kalos provides?
I'm also interested in people choosing that they dislike Felm more than they dislike Chalice. Kalos, just like Isakron before her, has banned Felm rather than Chalice. Looks like Safar and Kalos are ready and in game though, so let's dive in and see a game between Stone Scar Gunslingers and Alessi Time.
To be fair, if you hit the right windows with aggressive decks, Chalice could have a hard time coming back or stabilizing or whatever you want to call it, or staying in the game even. Against Feln, it feels like Feln has way more aggressive units, especially the Champion of Cunning or even the Black Sky Harbinger, that can swing the board in your favor back again. If you fail against Chalice, yeah, it's kind of meh, but there's nothing you can do. But it's less oppressive, in my opinion, in my experience, than Chalice. Maybe Kalos isn't quite aware of the fact that Chalice is back and stronger than before, especially with the camels being added to provide health gain. But maybe it's just that Kalos dislikes Feln even more than Chalice. You never know.
That is something that I would believe. That is an opinion I would believe people to have.
Yeah.
Feln is another very hated control deck, with, I would say, good reason.
I think Feln is stronger than people think right now, because I have a lot of trouble, no matter which deck I play, to keep up my aggression against their disruptive game plan. And maybe Kalos was on the same side here, maybe thinking she could maybe get a win against the Alessi deck with her Highwayman and Instigators and weapons, which I could see coming together here with this hand, actually. So we do see the teacher.
Feln right now is all about Captain Teambro's Feln Cauldron list.
I know, right?
Captain Teambro has done some of TGP's graphics for these ECL events. Really thankful to him for that, and really happy about his most recent deck tech video on Feln Cauldron. You should go check it out if you haven't.
I guess we can provide a link after this round.
But for now, let's talk about the game as it's happening. It looks like Safar just played a hideout pistol on Argentport Instigator to kill Alessi.
Kalos? Yeah.
Ah, yes, that's Kalos. My bad.
But we do see 2 units on the field right now that grow, and potentially the Wisp later, the moment they pick up more time influence. Right now, the effect is not yet active. If I'm not mistaken, it requires 5.
Now there's 2 more units in play for Safar as well.
Does the Wisp require 5 or 4 influence? Do you remember right now? I haven't played with that
5.
card myself. 5, okay. So we're quite a bit away from the Wisp being active. So for now, it's going to be 1-1 that's going to die to the Highwayman. picking up the buff and dealing 1 damage through the instigator. We also see the quick draw being added on top and going for an aggressive attack. I really like the play right now from Kalos, trying to stay in, not giving the Alessi deck the time to draw or market access or whatever you want to call it right now. Staying on the aggressive foot here definitely helps. Maybe even trading. Probably going for the student here because you're not that bothered with the card draw from the teacher.
Kayla's
Ooh.
next turn will be able to make use of Shugo's standard off of a possible attack with Instigator. I think at this. Oh, well, she will need to top deck
Yeah,
power
undepleted
to.
power.
And due to the option to top deck undepleted power, I actually would not have blocked there if I were Kalos.
Nope.
I would have been fine picking up a trigger on a pair of weights, even though Ornate Katana is a thing.
It can actually be made a point for getting hit by teacher in the same way as a control deck tries to avoid it. Because as we've seen earlier with the Wyatt drawing double power from the enemy deck, there is a chance that you just draw a sigil that will help your own game plan just as much as it could be any other card in your deck. So there's not necessarily a good idea to always block the teacher, especially when your deck runs low on mana or low on power in general.
Though
It has a slow curve.
this route is working out well for Kalos anyway. She's up to 5
Yeah,
power, can play Rakano Outlaw, Wyatt gets to attacking with a 4-2 Rakano Outlaw, and if for some reason, say, Safar plays a stand together, for example, I would have liked Kalos annihilating the Aurelian Merchant.
yep.
I would have
I
liked
thought
that
about the exact thing.
a lot because then Safar would have had to block with the Awakened Student, and Shugo Tactic could completely wipe Safar's board. Now that Student is going to be able to pick up Sword of Unity next turn and attack in as a big overwhelmer with Lifesteal. Lifesteal is not something you want to see when you're a fairly aggressive deck like Kalos is. It's definitely not Rally Queen tier aggression, but it's fairly close to it.
I think there's a point to be made for the Valkyrie. Yeah, we see that coming down for Sifar right now, silencing the Wyatt that came down. But we do see a Jack Hornet Fugitive.
That's currently an 8-6.
Not too
Definitely
shabby.
picked up a few war cries. Looks like Kalos will just be passing here, and now Safar still doesn't have the power to activate the spellcraft on Sword of Unity, but there's something to be said for just playing it anyway.
Just to stabilize and being on the board right now. The next 2 turns most likely will decide if you win or lose the game. So basically going all in right now, there is a world where this would be the right play.
Okay,
Even considering that Kalos is not attacking herself right now, at least for now.
no, the correct play now for Kalos is totally to attack out with everything.
Yeah. But we have seen earlier that she is a bit protective of her units and her board state. So we should also consider this. There's also a point to be made for annihilating the free.
I think that you annihilate the 3-3 if Safar double blocks. Now, Kalos is once again seeming to go for the more conservative route of
Yep.
annihilating the 3-3 afterwards, making sure she does get in with the extra damage, but I also feel like I would have gone for the other line of play because it's possible that my opponent would have double blocked with the. No, actually, no, that still wouldn't work. Jack has quick draw. What am I saying? This works out better because it allows her to get in more damage. That's me fumbling because I'm a dingus.
Hey, we're just casters, right? We don't have to actually play well.
Exactly.
We just have to pretend to know better, which is exactly what we're doing here.
And somehow I'm still failing that.
So there's not much thought right now that Kellos has to go for. Just staying on the aggressive side. You have 2 units as backup. You can play both of them in this turn in case something would hit the fan. But it looks like the way is clear.
Turns out A plus space, a pretty good strategy at times like this.
Yeah.
Oh, and she gets a Temple Scribe off Safar. She could play that right now, or she could start off with the Champion of Cunning, Champion of Chaos play before Temple Scribe. I don't like that sequencing because Temple Scribe could, in theory, draw something that you'd rather play over the Champion of Chaos. It doesn't wind up mattering either as she picks up the win. Safar doesn't have anything to deal with the big board that Kalos has built up and was, of course, at one left point at that point. We won't be seeing any more gunslingers from Kalos, and that increases the chance of seeing Ice Heart combo.
Yeah. We do see a second Jack being picked up here. And we also have another situation where Annihilate could come in handy, provoking a double block, maybe.
What are you talking about? The game.
Oh, wait. Oh,
What?
dude, I'm in the wrong window. Fuck. Oh my, I'm so.
How long?
I was
were
on
you...
this. I don't know. I just stepped out of the call for a second, and I went to the stream window.
I hope it was very recently because
Yeah,
the
it
game
was
just
super
finished.
recent. I was like, have we just had this?
Yeah.
So didn't
Okay.
we? Like 2 seconds ago. Oh my.
But it looks like players are ready for the next game now, so let's dive into that.
Looks like the charge rod is being picked up here by Safar.
Swapping over to Charge Rod. Well, Kalos is on her Ice Heart combo now.
Ooh. Let's get it going.
I'm excited. Are you?
Can you tell how excited I am to see this deck fail? Or will it do what it's supposed to do this time? I mean, having the Feast Curler early
statistically
on.
unlikely.
Yeah, but the Feast Curler is a decent unit anyway, so having it right now on point could be really nice, and we see the power in the hand as well. So maybe Chaos could win by just having decently statted unit, and maybe the Charge Rod player whiffing on either Answer the Call or Charge Rod or Divining Rod. I mean, whiffing could potentially be a way to win, right? Long Barrel being kept on top, and Ikaria picked up already. But we can see that Sifar has quite some excess power and a Bullet Shaper on top, which could be fed with a torch to cheat some power in the coming turns. The Apprentice most likely coming down. Decided to take the Scout and play the undepleted power when you can afford to, which is a smart thing to do.
Now, Safar still has a very slow hand here. But Kalos isn't going to do a huge amount early either. She does have the long barrel, which is one part of her plan. She will still need to pick up Biral and be able to hit with him, which is also going to be very tough against Charge Rod because for her combo to fire off, she needs Safar to have units in play.
Exactly. But having some experience with the shell of Sifar's deck, I think this hand right now is perfectly reasonable. They can get to 4 power and maybe even go for an early Rizan if they feel like. Maybe picking up 1 or 2 power while waiting for the next draws. And then just drop the Ikaria or Caleb on the board and see what this brings them at the end. I don't think Kalos's deck has too many answers to just big units, especially Aegis units. But the Apprentice coming down, so units can't be silenced anymore.
They can still be torched, though.
Yeah, that's true. But I think at this point there might be a world where you don't torch and keep it for the ramp, just as Sifar decides to do for now.
Yeah, that's actually
Because
a very strong choice. Safar will be able to have 6 power next turn, this turn,
oh,
or
never
more
mind, there's the
later.
second one.
Okay, yes, now I like Safar not firing anything off here. I would also like him to torch Lita's apprentice at this point, because that way the next turn you can go play Icaria.
Yeah.
Turn 5 Icaria seems like a strong play.
I think that looks pretty
Wow,
decent.
Safar is still sandbagging the second torch. But here it's Icaria time.
And as we can tell, as you just mentioned, Icaria on point is just very strong.
And Kalos doesn't have any way to deal with that Icaria whatsoever. Permafrost doesn't work on a unit with endurance. Long barrels, spellcrafting, piercing shot. Piercing shot only deals 2 damage.
Mm.
It could break an Aegis, but it's still going to leave an Icaria behind. I do feel like that play of long barrel on Feast Caller is what Kalos has to be doing here. She can choose whether she wants to spellcraft or not, but I think the play here is to turn the Feast Caller into a threat. Otherwise,
Yep.
you're about to die. And you see that there will definitely be access to an Age of the Huru, as Mages of Celerity saw, oh, Age is on top? That's not going to stay the case. Kalos does go for playing out the long barrel on Feast Caller without the spellcraft, meaning it's attacking as a 6/4 Overwhelmer, and maybe there's a world where Safar blocks with Garia. Look at that. Kalos, it's a 2-for-1 on herself, kind of a 1-for-1 if you think about the Steward of Prophecy that she drew. She got Ikaria off the board after only 1 hit. Though Safar top decking another Bullet Shaver. Not only is that wearing the +5/+5 from Ikaria's Warcry, if Safar top decks
Ooh.
another power, he's able to play Caleb in the turn following. And if he doesn't, he can still play either Razan or the Dragon here, depending on what Kalos chooses to silence.
To be fair, I think Sifar gave Kalos too much credit here, trading the Icaria off. I think having like your full life total still available, you could have used this as a resource at some point in the game. And right now you're falling behind. I don't think that was the right play. And also permafrosting the bullet shaper doesn't do much. You could have afforded to wait a turn and see what the enemy is up to. I think both players are giving too much credit, maybe to nervousness or whatever. But there should be a little bit more baiting going on right now, in my opinion.
Soulflyer Drake arrives and doesn't attack. What's up with that? Why?
Maybe
Why
they
would it
forgot
not?
about the fact that it has charge.
You're playing Charge Rod. You're not allowed to forget that your units have charge. It's in the name of the deck.
Maybe Sifar is actually afraid to lose here. I'm not sure. Otherwise, the Carrier block wouldn't make sense in the long run as well.
Look, it's dead now. Your Soulfire Drake wasn't there as a blocker.
I mean, I'm just here to bring assumptions. I don't know, like, either of those plays actually being correct.
Right. It obviously didn't work out for Safar, who's now at 4, and that 4 damage can be dealt by Lita's Apprentice or by Steward of Prophecy next turn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Safar now doesn't even have the power to play anything in his hand other than the Whirling Duo. And a top deck Hunter's Harpoon is actually a really great draw for Kalos. She can toss that onto Lita's Apprentice and attack with everything, and
Have
that
lethal.
does not guarantee lethal actually, but it guarantees
Oh
that
yeah,
she's going to get
lifesteal.
an extra card draw.
Yeah. I think going for the all-out aggression here, not giving your opponent time to consider what he could probably do better or what they could draw, and giving them the draw is the best play. So going for everything here, has to be done. Holding back for Kalos right now is not an option.
Also, Hunter's Harpoon on the Lita's Apprentice currently in
Yeah.
play means that it gets out of torch range or Razan range, which is something to consider when you realize Razan is the only thing in Safar's hand that might be playable next turn.
Also, you force
Even
a
if it
double
is
block.
playable, yeah, even if it is playable, it's not going to have lifesteal, so it's not like Safar's gaining some extra life off that. Hunter's Harpoon, however, goes on to the new Lita's Apprentice, who of course had Charge. That was my bad for missing that. I forgot Magus of Celerity.
Oh wow, yeah.
That means it's attacking with everything will be lethal.
To be fair, Magus of Celerity hasn't seen that much play yet, so I think we can forgive ourselves for missing that fact. But yeah, well played.
I'm
And
not willing
Kalos got
to
there.
forgive myself because Magus is something that I've been brewing with quite a bit recently.
Oh, okay. Well, then get good, man.
Yeah, I should.
So Kalos having a decent run this far. I think in the big picture of this game, Sifa dropping his Icaria that has been cheated out early on turn 5 was a big mistake. He could have made very different blocks over the whole course of the game. And obviously, Kalos would have drawn cards from the Jotun Feast Caller, but they wouldn't have as much damage on the face, leaving the Icaria up for 1 or 2 turns longer. And just seeing if you draw into your other options, that being power at this point, because they were stuck at 5. So a bit unfortunate. I think that was a bit misjudged by them, but they have still time to go back and to win the next game.
Kalos is now one win away from sweeping Safar. That win will have to be with Rakano, Valkyrie, and Scale Seekers. Scale Seekers are, of course, Kalos' extra little sprinkly spice that she brought here today. 2-cost 1/3 that has one exhaust Scale Seeker to scout. After the third use, sacrifice him to play a 5/5 dragon with flying.
So as we mentioned earlier, I really like the choice, just having something on the board early on. Also, the free health makes it kind of a decent target for 1 mana, but I'm not quite sure of its effectiveness yet. Usually,
I
Rakano. Oh, it's 2 mana. 2 mana. That's how often I saw the card this far.
The one thing I worry about with Scale Seeker is that its ability costs power, which means that you have to have the power to also be using it. You usually
Yeah.
want to be using it early, but also you want to be able to be playing things early as well.
Yeah,
And
Rakano is strong enough to not use stuff like this.
and it also dies to torch or hailstorm, which are very common things around when public enemy number one is Teacher of Humility.
Yeah. Let's quickly recap here, just to make sure. We see the double scout here, even though we already knew what's on the top right now with the Hashro from the first scout. Kalos decides yet again to not go for the tempo play, either playing Ixon Merchant or the better choice to play the Whirling Duo and get some aggression going.
She wants to
We
get
see
these
that
dragons
same.
as soon as possible.
I mean, I get that, but I don't think it's the right play in any way right now. You have seen that Sifar was struggling quite a bit last game. Going for an early finish here is what you should aim to do, and not waste your mana for. Well, I mean, it worked out right now, but we will see where it ends up.
Agreed. We shall see. She does have the early pressure here over Safar
Yeah.
on Charge Rod. He's going to need to get a unit in play to be able to make use of the Rod in hand, but he does have two Answer the Calls and an Icaria. Those are all things that he can play next turn.
I mean, Kalos would have not had that much more damage in. I think it would have been 2 whirling duo attacks. So 6 more damage and 6 more health on your own life total. But still, every point matters in the end, especially against a deck you know that will beat you in late game. And seeing Sephar's hand right now, we can know for certain that being proactive early on could have been a nice choice. But maybe it will work out and I'm a dumbass, you never know.
The world may never know. Answer the
Answer
call
the call.
time, and it
Wow.
bricks. That's a bad feeling for Safar, who's going to be taking 10 damage this turn.
Was there a world where you just play Karia or Rizan to get something on the board instead of high rolling where you don't have to?
I mean, you're playing Charge Ride. You might as well go for the answer to the call. You could explode out to a big board. Now here's the Ikaria.
But see, that's the point. There was a risk not needed to be taken at this point. You had other options in hand. You could have played Ikaria, not even go for the block, but play the Divining Rod on her anyways, and just leave the answer the call as refill when you're really out of stuff to do. You also would have a nice blocker, and you would have been able to take down both of them with the Divining Rod on top, which would have been this turn if they decided to play this Ikaria last turn.
That Ikaria now needs to block.
Yeah.
Otherwise, she just dies. Or Safar just dies. And a torch plus a Valkyrie Enforcer is going to be enough to prevent her from blocking. And with that, Halo sweeps Safar. This is not what I was expecting for this match to go, but well done to Kalis for picking up some extra invitational points and further solidifying herself into the top 16. She was ninth and should be pushing up more, probably still ninth, maybe eighth now, but very likely to be able to partake in the invitational. That was the last round of this tournament, meaning that I also want to say congratulations to Isocron and Crack Variety for both getting the most points in this tournament at 9 each.
Isocron felt like was playing the most consistent decks and had like the best game plans by not giving your opponent time to recover and just going for it when you were in the leading position. Other than other players we saw that gave their opponent too much previewing time to maybe find an answer to a very strong board they had no answer for. So yeah, definitely shouts out there for the nice play and also on the choice of bringing apparently the right decks into the tournament tonight.
Certainly. Now, of course, these number of points that you see, like they got 9 points, that's not the exact number of points the players will be getting added onto their actual point values.
Yeah. I think
Thank
all in
you
all this.
to. Oh, sorry.
No, you go ahead. Go ahead, sir.
I was going to say thank you to everybody for playing today, for coming out to watch, for the very generous donations, and the fact that we are looking to probably have a $300 prize pool for the invitational now.
I never expected that 300 would actually be on the line, but yeah, you're right. Would be amazing to have that amount of money for the winners of the invitational. Definitely. Also, I'm super hyped for the invitational.
Yeah,
I should
I
have
hope
mentioned that in the first place.
Don't feel too bad that we've been commandeering you for casting when you could have been getting points to be participating.
Not at all. I enjoy this experience thoroughly. Like, amazing. I really like this. I like casting.
That's really good to hear. You're quite good at it.
Thank you.
So yes, I want to thank our players, our donators, our viewers, the people who have been doing their real magic, and that's The Rock, Kaleri, and Dr. Hero. For The Rock has been a producer today. Kaleri was our tournament organizer, and then Dr. Hero stepped in like the hero he is when Kaleri's internet started acting up, and they're really what allow these tournaments to run. It's not us sitting here talking about Eternal. It's those people behind the scenes making the
Absolutely.
stream exist.
Like, you can tell by being in the call and Discord with them how much they actually do here. It's quite ridiculous to keep in track of all the things. And I'm just talking nonsense most of the time anyway, so big shout out to those guys.
So the tournament points now have been updated, and we see that Crack Variety has gotten up to 16th place with 10 points. If you his point total is technically enough to get in if the cut were right now, but there's still not going to be done quite yet. It's still not going to be done quite yet. There's going to be 3 more tournaments for people to get some invitational points. The Tuesday and Thursday weeklies and the Casual Friday. Those are our last 3 tournaments coming up before the grand finals.
I think if you just would start right now, you would still have a decent chance in case you do well to get into the invitation, all right? So everyone who's interested in a prize pool, definitely start and participate, guys. Still up for grabs right now. You can see Prometheus having 9 points on 16th, so you should have a chance at this, I think.
Yeah, 2 wins. If you're able to, if you haven't played in these events at all, winning both the Tuesday and Thursday events plus participating in the Casual Friday should be enough to, in theory, get you into the top 16. If one of these 4 players that are currently on that 16 or on that 10 point level wind up dropping the ball and not playing around a bit more, not playing in these upcoming events. And maybe Bassoon Buffoon drops out of the top 16 so he can cast the Invitational with us.
Oh, yeah, right.
We hope to see you there for the Invitational and the tournaments leading up to it. Thank you to everybody, and most importantly, thank you to the people who are funding the prize pool. That's now Silly Head Pantsman with the super generous $50 today, Flying Finn with the $10 a couple of days ago, Croge and Irikyoto for the $5.06 something from Irikyoto. Yeah, $6.01. And of course, to our newest sponsor, who's no longer Silly Head Pantsman. It's Gaga Hacks, who you said is one of your friends, for dropping the pie, $3.14. Even something as small as that really does help. That it goes to the prize pool and it adds up. Look, it's added up to almost $175 right now. That's crazy.
Yep, definitely. Thank you, guys. Also, thanks for having me yet again, TGP. And I hope everyone has a great night or day, depending on where you are in the world. And tune in for the next time.
Thank you. And
Have a good night,
night
guys.
or good afternoon or good morning, wherever in the world you are.